Welcome back, my ghastly gathering of ghouls, to another chilling episode of The Eldritch Hour. I'm your host, Lilith Fury, the Eldritch Queen of Horror, here to lead you through the shadows of fear and fascination. Tonight, we're unearthing the twisted roots of Return of the Living Dead, a novel by John Russo that spun off from the groundbreaking Night of the Living Dead. This 1977 novel is a fascinating entry into zombie lore, a grim, action-packed tale that serves as inspiration for one of the most iconic horror films of the 1980s. But the journey from Russo's novel to the cult classic Return of the Living Dead film is anything but straightforward. Along the way, we'll uncover its literary origins, thematic layers, pop culture impact, and even insights from experts who've dissected its undead legacy. So grab your flashlight and hold on the light. Let's dig up the facts, fears, and folklore behind this gory gem. To understand Return of the Living Dead, we need to go back to the creation of its predecessor, Night of the Living Dead, 1968, co-written by John Russo and George A. Romero. This independent film redefined horror, introducing the modern zombie as a slow-moving, flesh-eating ghoul. Its stark social commentary and groundbreaking approach to violence left an indelible mark on pop culture. However, after Night of the Living Dead achieved massive success, Russo and Romero went their separate ways creatively. They agreed to divide the intellectual property, with Russo retaining the right to the phrase Living Dead and Romero continuing his Dead series, starting with Dawn of the Dead, 1978. Russo's Return of the Living Dead was an attempt to carry forward the story of the original film, but it quickly became its own unique entity. Russo published his novel in 1977, imagining a world where the zombie outbreak had been contained but left a traumatic scar on society. His book delves into government conspiracies, military experiments, and a second wave of undead terror unleashed by human greed and negligence. In the novel, we learn that the government had been secretly experimenting with 2,4,5-trioxin, a powerful chemical originally developed as a defoliant during the Vietnam War. When mishandled, the chemical has the unintended side effect of reanimating the dead. A military convoy carrying barrels of trioxin crashes, spilling the deadly substance and triggering another zombie outbreak. The story follows a group of survivors, civilians, scientists, and soldiers as they navigate the chaos of this renewed apocalypse. Unlike Romero's films, which often focus on moral dilemmas and societal breakdowns, Russo's book leans heavily into pulpy action with a gritty tone that revels in gore and horror cliches. The zombies in the novel are closer to Romero's slow-moving ghouls, but possess a relentlessness, instinctual drive that makes them terrifying. When the novel was adapted to the 1985 film Return of the Living Dead, directed by Dan O'Bannon, it took a dramatic departure from Russo's original vision. O'Bannon, best known for writing Alien 1979, used the novel's basic premise as a springboard, but completely reimagined the tone and style. The film introduced the world to brain-eating zombies, an entirely new concept that added a darkly comedic twist to the genre. The movie's undead are faster, smarter, and more self-aware than their predecessors, with iconic lines like "brains" becoming instant horror staples. O'Bannon's satirical approach, combined with punk rock aesthetic and an amazing soundtrack, made the movie a hit with 1980s audiences. Key differences between the book and the film include tone. The novel is serious and grim, while the movie is irreverent and self-aware. Zombies. Russo's zombies are traditional, Romero-style ghouls, where O'Bannon's are intelligent and vocal. Plot. The film discards most of the novel's story, focusing instead on a small-scale disaster at a medical supply warehouse. Russo's novel lacks the overt social critiques of Romero's films, but it still reflects 1970s anxieties about government overreach and scientific hubris. The use of trioxin as a plot device evokes fears of chemical and biological warfare, particularly in the wake of the Vietnam War. In contrast, the film adaptation reflects 1980s cultural shifts. Its punk aesthetic and rebellious tone resonate with the disillusionment and counterculture of the era. The film's characters, misfit punks, blue-collar workers, and corrupt officials represent a cross-section of society, each navigating the apocalypse in their own way. Dr. Stephen Schlossman, author of The Zombie Autopsies, points out the novel's depiction of a government cover-up taps into primal fears of institutional failure. Meanwhile, Dr. Deborah Christie, co-author of Better Off Dead, The Evolution of the Zombie as Post-Human, argues that the film's comedic tone underscores the absurdity of modern life, making it a social critique more palatable. While Russo's novel is often overshadowed by the film, it remains an important part of zombie history. It bridges the gap between Night of the Living Dead and the more comedic, campy iterations of the genre that followed. The book's focus on trioxin and its military origins influenced later works, including The Walking Dead and World War Z. The film, however, had an immediate and lasting impact. Its brain-eating zombies, punk rock soundtrack, and quotable lines became iconic, shaping how audiences perceive the undead. Movies like Shaun of the Dead, 2004, and TV shows like Z Nation owe much to the irreverent tone established by Return of the Living Dead. The franchise also spawned several sequels, though none achieved the cultural significance of the original film, but I really liked Part 3 as well. Dr. Peter Dindal, author of the Zombie Movies Encyclopedia, highlights how Russo's novel and O'Bannon's film helped expand the zombie genre. Romero's zombies symbolize societal decay. Russo and O'Bannon's creations embrace pulp and parody, making the undead more accessible to mainstream audiences. Sociologist Sarah Juliette Loro, author of the Transatlantic Zombie Notes, that the Living Dead franchise reflects evolving fears and desires. The shift from grim realism in the novel to dark comedy in the film mirrors a cultural shift towards escapism and satire during turbulent times. Today, Return of the Living Dead, both the novel and the film, remain a cornerstone of zombie lore. The novel serves as a testament to Russo's contribution to the genre. While the film solidified the undead as versatile icons of horror and humor, for fans of the macabre, both works offer unique perspectives on the apocalypse. So whether you prefer Russo's grim pulp or O'Bannon's punk chaos, there's no denying the enduring appeal of these undead tales. And so, my shadow-dwelling scholars, we close the book on Return of the Living Dead. From its humble beginnings as a novel to its explosive impact on the big screen, this story continues to captivate and terrify. As always, thank you for joining me on this descent into darkness. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and as always, stay spooky. This is Lilith Fury, your Eldritch Queen of Horror, signing off.